Hello everyone and welcome to Midlife Crisis, the show where I talk about every major DC crossover event in chronological order. We've been building up to this for a long time, and today we are finally beginning our journey through the Blackest Night crossover event. Released from 2009 to 2010, Blackest Night is an event written by Geoff Johns with art by Ivan Reyes that includes a lot of tie-ins from other series, including Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps, that are written by different writers with art by a lot of different artists. And over the next couple of months, I am going to talk about every single one of them. I'm going to be talking about every issue of Blackest Night, all of its tie-ins. There are going to be videos that are just Blackest Night, Green Lantern, and Green Lantern Corps, the core story of the event. And then there will be other videos that will be focused on the tie-ins. All you need to know leading up to this event is that during the Sinestro Corps War, which was the war between the Green Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps, Sinestro had resurrected the Anti-Monitor and recruited him into his corps. During the final battle, the Anti-Monitor was defeated by the Green Lanterns and destroyed, but in the process, one of the Guardians was corrupted by the Anti-Monitor's antimatter energy. The antimatter energy continued to corrupt this Guardian's mind. They became obsessed with the prophecies of the Blackest Night, which was an event that the Guardians knew would happen, but they didn't know what it was. All they knew is that it would be one of the darkest chapters in the history of the universe, and that it would involve all of the cores within the color spectrum. The Red Lanterns, Yellow Lanterns, Scarlet Sapphires, the Green Lanterns, the Orange Lanterns, the Blue Lanterns, and the Indigo Tribe. The corrupted Guardian eventually discovered the Book of Black, which foretold the coming of Necron, the god of death, and the Black Lanterns. The book guided this Guardian to a planet where the corpse of the Anti-Monitor had ended up after the Sinestro Corps War. From the Anti-Monitor's body, a Black Lantern arose, powered by the Anti-Monitor's antimatter. So that's all you need to know leading up to Blackest Night. So without further ado, let's get straight into things with a couple of prologue chapters, the first being The Tale of the Black Lantern, written by Geoff Johns with art by Doug Mank. I also thought it might be fun if I added a heart counter to this. So every time somebody gets their heart pulled out, I'm going to count it, and we'll see how many we get to by the end of the event. And whether or not I regret doing this. We begin with William Hand, also known as the villain Black Hand, lying in a grave with a few corpses. He has always been obsessed with death, and he says that death has always spoken to him ever since he was a kid. So we flash back to when he was a child. His family are the owners of a morgue. He's grown up around dead bodies, but unlike his family, William has always been obsessed with these dead bodies. He's always found something fascinating about them, and his family have seen him as being off because of that, but despite this, they still love him. During a family dinner, we learn that one of William's hobbies is taxidermy, and while they're trying to eat dinner, their dog Marbles is being fed food, and the mum's like, hey, you shouldn't be feeding him food. And then William looks at the dog while Marbles barks at him. And then Marbles goes missing. And while they're out looking for him, William points to a nearby tree and says, hey Dad, I want you to put my grave over there. So it's like he's interested already in where he's going to be buried. Eventually, they find Marbles in William's room, and he has been turned into a stuffed animal. William goes to therapy and talks about the fact that he hates being around people that are alive, people that move. He'd rather be around dead people. Which is a pretty troubled way for a young guy to be thinking. But despite this, William's life remains mostly normal until the day Atrocitus arrived. Many years ago, when William was still a young man, the alien Atrocitus, who would eventually become the leader of the Red Lanterns, had arrived on Earth with a weapon known as the Cosmic Divining Rod. The Cosmic Divining Rod allows its user to draw in any power, including light. And Atrocitus tells William that the rod has the ability to draw the darkness out of William's heart. Hal Jordan and Sinestro show up to fight Atrocitus, and in the confusion, Atrocitus drops the Cosmic Divining Rod. William picks it up and runs away with it. Hal tries to stop him. He's like, "Hey kid, are you okay?" William just doesn't listen to him. And he uses the Cosmic Divining Rod on a nearby squirrel, destroying it. And because the rod causes death, William becomes obsessed with it. And he becomes obsessed with the Green Lantern's light. Because he's so obsessed with darkness, light is one of his biggest fears, and he hates it. So he decides to make it his life goal to eradicate it forever. He finds a nearby body bag in his dad's morgue, and he fashions it into a costume and becomes the villain Black Hand. This is a retcon. Originally, his costume was just any old supervillain costume, but Jeff Johns adds some meaning to it by making it a body bag. He fights Hal Jordan and some of the other Green Lanterns throughout his history. Eventually, Hal becomes Parallax, and the light goes away for a long time. After Hal Jordan becomes the Spectre, Black Hand is defeated by him and Green Arrow. The Spectre uses his powers to take away Black Hand's hand so that he can't use his Cosmic Divining Rod anymore. With his supervillain career over, William decides to head out on a plane, but he gets abducted from the plane by some aliens. The aliens are trying to draw the evil power out of him. They can't, so instead they decide to fix his hand. When they fix his hand, they drop him off in a grave back on Earth. He climbs his way out, and that's when he discovers that the hand that they have given him has given him the touch of death. Whatever he touches dies. He finds that out when he touches some grass and it dies. But it's not just that. His new hand has also given him a connection to death. He can see everyone's death. He can see every single character that has ever died. He can see all their deaths. He can see all of the characters who have died and then been resurrected. And he sees that as a fallacy. And this whole time, Necron is communicating to him, telling him that he needs to kill all of these people that had been resurrected. Because they shouldn't be alive. But before he does that, he has a couple of things to take care of. He heads to the house of his family, who haven't heard from Billy in a long time, but ever since he became supervillain, his mother wanted nothing to do with him. They hear a knock on the door. His brother goes and answers it. He comes face to face with Billy, and before he can say another word, Billy destroys his brother, and then kills his other brother, and then he walks up to his mother and kills her as well. And then he turns to his father and he's like, "Hello, father." Why? Because this is what I do. And then he kills his father. And then Necron tells him that he's not finished. One more death. And William puts the Cosmic Divining Rod up to his head and shoots himself in the head. Billy's body falls to the floor dead, his blood spilling all over the floor. That's when the corrupted Guardian arrives. He's like, yes, this pleases him. He is ready. Yes. The corrupted Guardian coughs up a Black Lantern ring the Black Lantern ring flies onto William Hand's hand. His wounds heal themselves, and he is reborn as the embodiment of the Black Lantern Corps, their incarnate, the Lord's Herald. I know what I am. I am the Black Hand, and with this power, I will finally extinguish the light. Black Hand arrives at a cemetery where he begins digging up the remains of a bunch of characters. We see their gravestones: Ralph and Sue Dibney, Ronnie Raymond, the original Firestorm, and while he is digging up the bodies, he creates an oath. The blackest night falls from the skies. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your hearts and your demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise. Blackest Night, Chapter 1. Black Hand has gone to the Wayne Manor Cemetery, where he has dug up the remains of Bruce Wayne, who died during Final Crisis. He holds Bruce's skull in his hand, says, "No one escapes death. That includes you. The dead will rise, and you are connected to them all." And then he licks Bruce's skull, which is just like, ugh. Nasty. And then we cut to Coast City. The world has a remembrance day for every single superhero that has ever died, so everybody in Coast City is remembering all of the people that died back when Coast City was destroyed. A lot of people didn't get resurrected. The 4 core men, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, John Stewart, all show up to light the Green Lantern in the middle of the memorial. During this, Hal mentions a lot of people that have died that are related to the Green Lanterns, like Kat Matui, who was John's greatest love, the planet Xanshi, which John accidentally destroyed. He's never been allowed to move on from that event. We got Kyle Rayner, who has been very unlucky to have 2 dead girlfriends. You got his girlfriend Alex, who was stuffed into a fridge. And then you've got his other girlfriend Jade, who was disintegrated. And then you got Guy Gardner, who's happy at the moment because he's been reunited with his greatest love, Ice. But the book mentions that he has the happiest ending. They don't mention the fact that he also lost a girlfriend as well. Her name is Carrie Limbo. I guess Johns doesn't know the deeper Guy Gardner lore. The 4 core men go their separate ways, and we cut to a different cemetery where Clark Kent, Connor Kent, and Martha Kent, who are there to remember Jonathan Kent, who'd passed away not too long ago. We also see Martin Stein, Jason Rush, and his girlfriend Jen. Jason Rush and Jen are the current Firestorm. Martin Stein was half of the former Firestorm and a close friend of Ronnie Raymond. They're here to remember Ronnie. And Jen states that they should become Firestorm because there might be high toxicity levels in the area because some of the plants around them are dying for some reason. The Titans are remembering their lost ones, and Bart says that he wishes they could take down all of the statues and not just his own. The Rogues are remembering their lost ones, including Captain Boomerang, Digger Harkness. His son Owen Mercer is there, and some of the members of the Justice League International have come together to remember Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle, and best friend of Booster Gold. And we see a rose petal from the rose that they placed at his grave fall to the ground. We then cut to Metropolis, where we see a cemetery of a lot of other superheroes, and there are a lot of people there who are there to remember those heroes. We see Atom Smasher and Damage, where Atom Smasher asks Damage why he's not looking at his father's grave, and Damage explains that he's not looking at any of the graves of the freedom fighters or his father, because when he was on the team with the freedom fighters, he saw them all die right in front of his eyes, and so he just can't bear to look at anyone. Tempest visits Mera. Aquaman, Arthur Curry, recently died, and they've buried him on land, and Tempest asks Mera why she buried him on land and not in the ocean. They have a perfect memorial for him in the ocean. It's right next to his dead son, because they have to bring that up again, the fact that Arthur Curry had a baby that was killed by Black Manta. And Mera explains that even though the ocean is where he should be, the land is where he felt most safe, because he was always treated differently by the other Atlanteans. At least they buried him right next to the ocean. Tempest is like, the dirt is no place for a king of the seas. Alfred arrives at the Gotham City Cemetery and notices that Bruce's grave has been dug up, which is pretty alarming. And then we switch to Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, where Hal has been getting people to bring the corpses of supervillains and other superheroes to him so that he can lock them away in a vault. The reason why he's doing this is because people have been digging up the bodies of superheroes and supervillains and using their metagenes and stuff to create weapons out of them, which is pretty messed up. And then Barry demands Hal tell him about everybody that has died since he died. So Hal shows all of the dead people to Barry, every single one. He tells him about all of them, and it kind of messes Barry up. It's like, Ronnie? Not Ralph and Sue too? How? And Hal explains to him how Sue and Ralph died. And speaking of Sue and Ralph, we cut to Hawkman's place, where he has gotten a call from Ray Palmer, who wants to go and visit his ex-wife Jean's grave so that he can remember her. And Hawkman is like, no, don't you remember what she did to Sue? She murdered her. She got what she deserved. And he hangs up on him because Ray is going to try and come through the phone by shrinking down, and Hawkman's like, no, and smashes it. And then Kendra comes in and is like, Carter, aren't you being a little harsh? All he wants to do is get closure. And he's like, he already got closure when she died, and she deserved it. But this isn't just about Ray Palmer. Carter's struggling with the fact that he loves Kendra, but Kendra doesn't seem to love him back, even though they're supposed to be destined to be together. It's pretty complicated. Meanwhile, the Guardians have a meeting. They're disappointed over the fact that they failed to prevent a war from breaking out between all of the different Lantern Corps, but that's not even their biggest problem. A whole ton of Black Lantern rings are flying through Oa at this very moment, and they are unstoppable. The Guardians try to send out a distress signal, Code Black, but the corrupted Guardian is there, and he just bites into one of the other Guardians' necks, and then rips out his heart. The Black Lantern rings fly into the Green Lantern crypt, where all of the dead Green Lanterns are kept, and the rings attach themselves to the corpses of these Green Lanterns, as well as the corpses of a lot of the dead superheroes, bringing them all back to life as Black Lanterns. So we see an entire horde of Green Lantern, Black Lanterns, now on Oa. And on Earth, Hal and Barry come face to face with Black Lantern John Johns, the Martian Manhunter. Hawkman prepares to go out for a walk, but he and Kendra still have a serious topic to talk about, a serious conversation, and while they're having this complicated conversation, somebody is in their house. A Black Lantern grabs Hawkman's mace, and as Kendra is talking to Hawkman and is about to reveal her true feelings to him, she's about to say that she loves him, she just gets stabbed through the chest with a spear. And Hawkman's just like, Kendra! And then he gets smacked over the face with a mace. And we see that the Black Lanterns that have entered their house are Black Lantern Ralph Dibny and Sue Dibny. I smell a mystery. It's pretty brutal as Ralph just repeatedly hits Hawkman with his mace. He crawls over to Kendra. Kendra reaches out to Carter, and with her dying words, like, Carter, I never hated. I love you. And then she dies. And Carter's just like, Kendra! And then Ralph and Sue begin pulling the hearts of Carter and Kendra out of their bodies, which they do, while Carter is still alive, which is messed up. They rip his heart out, and then they destroy both of their hearts, killing Hawkman and Hawkgirl. That's right, at the very end of issue 1, Hawkman and Hawkgirl are dead. And now they will be resurrected as Black Lanterns. We now move over to Green Lantern Corps, written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Patrick Gleason. It begins with Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner traveling through space, talking about their lives, the fact that Guy is struggling with a long-distance relationship with Ice. Kyle asks him where he took her on a date. Apparently he took her to a football field, and he sees that as a great date. And Kyle talks about the fact that he went and visited Jade's grave, his ex-girlfriend who is dead, and he talks to Guy about the fact that there was a member of the Scarlet Sapphires who told Kyle that the love of his life is Jade, but then he lied to the girl that he is currently interested in, Soranik, who is the daughter of Sinestro, and told her that it was her. And Guy just kind of has to knock some sense into Kyle and say, well, Jade's dead, so you can't be with her anymore. So you should probably be with Soranik and reveal your feelings to her. It's rare that Guy makes sense, but in this situation, he does. And then Soranik and Iolande, another Green Lantern, show up and the group travel together, and then they see that something is going on with the power battery on Oa from a distance, and then behind them, they see all the black rings, and the black rings just fly straight through them. Looks like it hurts. It looks like the black rings are hitting them at fast speeds. And then we cut to Corrigar, which is the home planet of Sinestro and Soranik's species, where Mongol has taken over the entire planet because he took over the Sinestro Corps, and now he's contemplating calling it the Mongol Corps, and he is torturing the higher-ups of Corrigar. We cut back to Oa, where the group tries to stop the Black Lanterns from entering Oa by creating a big construct shield, but the rings break straight through it, so they chase after them. They end up on Oa, where they alert everybody down there that these black rings are here, so we see Kilowog and a whole bunch of other Green Lanterns try and fight against the black rings and stop them. However, the black rings leave, and they notice that they're heading straight for the crypt, which we saw in Blackest Night, but now we get to see a more detailed attack on the crypt. We get to see the Crypt Keeper himself protecting the place from the black rings. He's like, you will not desecrate these sacred tombs. All the bodies here deserve their peace. The rings start attacking all the statues that the bodies have been buried in, and then, much like in Blackest Night, we see these statues burst open and the Black Lanterns come forth from them. The interesting thing is that we don't know it's him yet, but I was able to figure it out just by seeing it. But there was a Green Lantern called Bizd, who is a fly, and he died, and it's very clear that this is supposed to be his eyes looking at Kilowog, Kyle, and Guy, and he can see the emotion that is within them. And an interesting thing to note, is that Kilowog and Kyle have will, but Guy is full of rage, even though he's not a Red Lantern, and this might be a hint at some stuff that will happen to Guy eventually in the future. They find themselves surrounded by Black Lanterns. We see Bizd, it confirms that it was him, and then somebody grabs Kyle and it's revealed to be a Black Lantern version of Jade. It's time for you to realize, Kyle, that 2 hearts are better than 1. She's looking real creepy. Now on to Green Lantern, where we find ourselves on Mars. We see the coffin of Martian Manhunter. It's funny, they put a little Choco on his coffin, which is really cute. Choco is his favorite treat. The coffin starts shaking, the Choco falls off the coffin and smashes on the ground as a black ring smashes through the ceiling into the coffin, places itself on John's hand, transforming him into a Black Lantern. He bursts from the coffin, and then we cut to Barry and Hal, who have come across Bruce's grave, and they realize that his skull has been stolen, and they're trying to figure out who would have done this. They're like, who even knows that Bruce is Batman? You got Ra's al Ghul, you got Talia al Ghul, and then you got, like, Dick Grayson. Anybody else, we'd have to ask him. Barry finds some mysterious black blood, and then somebody starts attacking his mind, and that's when the Black Lantern, John Johns, arrives. And at first, Hal and Barry think that it's him, even though he's clearly not the John Johns that they know anymore. The interesting thing is that John Johns has shape-shifting abilities, so he can just make himself look like regular Martian Manhunter. Hal doesn't fall for this. It's like, there's no way that's John. Like, if it was him, he wouldn't be showing up and saying that we should be dead. He would be asking for milk and cookies, which is a little bit demeaning towards him. I know it's a joke, but come on, man. Now's not the time for jokes. They get punched in the face by John. John starts attacking Hal, saying that he's supposed to be dead, and so is Barry, and that's why he's come here. He wants to take them back to where they belong. He says that Hal would have been in hell if he died when he was supposed to, which isn't true. He sacrificed himself, and so he got another chance at redemption. John tries to reach into Hal's chest to pull his heart out, but Barry arrives just in time and grabs Hal, freeing him from John's grasp. But then he tries to wake him up because he's like, Hal, the Flash can't fly, please wake up. They crash straight through a ceiling of a fire station. Then they hear a loud noise coming from outside, and it is John. He's grabbed onto the building and he flips it over because people forget that Martian Manhunter is as strong as Superman. And he even says it in this. He's like, why does everyone forget that? At this point, Hal and Barry have realized that maybe John has his own lantern ring. They just don't know what one it is because he has a whole costume and everything. So Hal tries to contact Salak, who is a Green Lantern, and he can't get in contact with him. He can't get in contact with anyone at Oa. Meanwhile, on Oa, the corrupted Guardian has taken all the other Guardians and has them held hostage in this disgusting black goo. She is going to use the Black Lanterns to protect the universe from now on. And we see the Black Lantern rings heading to different Lantern planets like Yuzmalt, which is where the Red Lanterns are currently fighting the Green Lanterns. Okara, which is where the Orange Lantern Larfleeze resides. And Zamaron, where the Scarlet Sapphires are facing the Sinestro Corps. And then she tells her fellow Guardians to go back to sleep and spits up a whole bunch of disgusting black goo. Hal is able to save everybody using a construct, and then Barry comes up with a plan. He's like, maybe if we get through to John by telling him something only John would know, he might be able to fight back because he's one of the strongest telepaths ever. So they decide to try and find some information on him. But as they do, Barry gets his mind attacked by John again, and John's like, you can't outrun death, not when it's me. And Barry tries to fight back against him. He's like, we had a connection, John, like the fact that I worked with the police and you were a detective, you were always wanting to learn more about the law, which is something that you didn't have on your own planet. justice. And John is like, Barry, and it's revealed that Barry is actually punching Hal. He's not punching John. It's me. And then Hal is grabbed by John. And John's like, justice? For who? My wife and daughter? Myself? The man who orchestrated my murder still walks the streets. Half the league you knew is gone. And so Hal and Barry are in a bit of a picky situation right now. Hal has been thrown high into the sky, and Barry has been thrown into what looks like toxic waste. We cut to Jon Stewart, who is still dealing with the fact that he destroyed Xanshi, because he can never move on from that. But before he can continue being depressed, a nearby comet explodes, and the black rings start flying towards him. He's just like, oh, this ain't good. And now back to Blackest Night, Chapter 2. There is a phone ringing at the museum that Hawkman and Hawkgirl were murdered and turned into Black Lanterns. It's Ray Palmer on the other side of the phone. He's hoping that Carter is going to pick up. He doesn't know that Carter is a Black Lantern. Carter ends up picking up, and Ray's like, I'm sorry about the argument that we had earlier, but I just need to talk to you about Jean and the way that I'm feeling and what I need to do next. And Carter tells Ray to come and meet him, and Ray decides to do so. We'll see how this plays out, I think, in a tie-in later. For now, we cut to Gotham City, where Jim Gordon talks about how he is dealing with the fact that he lost Batgirl not too long ago, because at this point in time, he doesn't know that his daughter Barbara is Batgirl, which is funny because not long after this, in Gail Simone's Batgirl series, Barbara would tell him that she is Batgirl and Oracle, and he says that he already knew. But in this, he doesn't know. But they have a lovely father-daughter moment because she bought him a cup of coffee. They decide to chill there, and that's where Hal just smashes straight into the bat signal, which catches him by surprise, obviously. Meanwhile, at Amnesty Bay, Mera reluctantly decides to allow Garth to take Arthur's corpse to Atlantis and bury him there. The only reason she's doing this is because it will allow Garth to not be treated differently by the Atlanteans. It's kind of a shitty reason. It's a little selfish, but whatever. She cares about Garth, but they quickly find out that Arthur's body is missing from his grave, and that's when Black Lantern Arthur Curry shows up, and he says that they call him their king, but they tried to kill him because he was different, and then they begged for his help to rebuild Atlantis, and when he did, and even bled for them, they hunted him again, and he just rips one of the hearts out of the Atlantean soldiers. Now it's your king's turn to hunt. We then cut to Deadman, who is finally dead, and he wants to stay dead, but unfortunately, a Black Ring has other plans for him, and a Black Lantern is drawn out of his body, which is interesting. That's something that we haven't seen before. I don't know if that's gonna lead to something eventually where Boston exists at the same time as his Black Lantern self. I guess we'll find out. Another interesting thing is, for the first time, we see the Black Lantern rings fail to turn somebody into a Black Lantern. They succeed in bringing back Hawk, Hank Hall, but when they try to bring back his brother Don is at peace, and he can't come back. So I think this is establishing that if somebody is at peace, they can't become a Black Lantern. You have to have some kind of resentment or something locked away inside, which is interesting. And so Black Lantern Hank is like, I guess I'm gonna have to do all the work as usual. Mera and Tempest fight against Black Lantern Arthur, and then Arthur says that Dolphin and Tula are here with him, and it's revealed that they're also Black Lanterns, and when I saw this, I was like, oh, where's Arthur Jr., the dead baby? Like, wouldn't it be really funny if he came in as a Black Lantern? You just see, like, a little baby Black Lantern flying around. That'd be really funny. I wouldn't put it past Jeff Johns to make that happen, especially because there's a moment where Arthur mentions Arthur Jr. and says that he might be here at some point. He might become a Black Lantern. Dolphin and Tula fight over Garth because they are both his ex-girlfriends / ex-wife, and that's really weird. They're very weird about it. I don't like this depiction of the two characters, even though they are Black Lanterns. Tula throws Garth into the lighthouse and then heads up there to fight him, while Black Lantern Aquaman uses his powers to bring a whole bunch of zombie fish and sharks to come out and kill all these Atlanteans, which is really cool. Meanwhile, some of the magic users visit Deadman's grave and see that it's empty, and then Black Lantern Pariah shows up because even though he's dead, he still has to witness horrible things like this. But he's not around for long because he just bursts into a bunch of black rings. The black rings start flying around, but they can't latch onto any of these characters because some of them are connected to life, while some of them are already connected to death or are connected to both, like Phantom Stranger. However, the Black Lantern rings figure out that the Spectre has control of a dead person, and so they turn Crispus Allen into a Black Lantern, which is really interesting. So the Spectre gets encased in a Black Lantern. He gets trapped inside Crispus Allen's Black Lantern. He's like, no, I will not be used. I am the spirit of vengeance. I am the Spectre. And we see a giant Black Lantern Crispus Allen. Barry fights John at a sewage plantation or something, while Hal asks Jim Gordon for his car because he needs it. And then we cut back to Mera and Tempest fighting against Aquaman, Dolphin, and Tula. Tempest freezes Dolphin's head, and then Mera smashes it with her trident. But this doesn't really do anything. Dolphin is continuing to function despite this. Then Tula grabs Garth by the chest, plunges her hand into his chest, and pulls out his heart. That's right, Garth's heart has been pulled out by Tula. Garth has been killed. Mera's just like, Garth! And then Garth is turned into a Black Lantern, and the energy from him turning into a Black Lantern blasts Mera off of the lighthouse. She manages to land on top of a car, but has no choice but to run away from her friends and family who have all been turned into zombies.
Mera! Mera, do you hear your king? Mera!
Pretty haunting stuff. While Barry fights John in the sewers, he turns on the gas main and Hal appears with Jim's car. He's like, do you see what all the chemicals have in common, John? They're all flammable. Flash fact. And then he throws the car and it explodes, and then Barry makes sure that the fire is directed away from the public. He keeps it in a tornado, and John is seemingly destroyed by the fire because it is his weakness. They come to the conclusion that there's going to be more people that have turned into Black Lanterns, and we see that Abin Sur is going to become a Black Lantern, and then Barry says that he wants to find John's remains once the fires die down and take him back to Mars because he was the heart of the Justice League. And then they hear a voice. It's like, heart? Barry? I have no heart. And it's revealed that Black Lantern John is still alive, and now he's not alone. He's got Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Elongated Man, Sue Dibney, and Ronnie Raymond Firestorm. We return to Green Lantern, where we catch up with Jon Stewart, where apparently the entire planet of Xanshi is a Black Lantern. I don't know how that works, but apparently it does. And then we cut to Zamaron, where Carol Ferris is fighting against the Sinestro Corps, who are trying to free their members from the Zamaron crystals, because the Zamarons are trying to convert them into Scarlet Sapphires. And that's when Sinestro shows up to free his members. He's currently dealing with the whole civil war situation going on with Mongol, who is trying to take over his core. In the meantime, he's going to have to fight against Carol Ferris. He mocks her quite a bit, where he's like, oh, you've spent so much time trying to be with Hal Jordan, but you're never gonna be with him. And Carol's just like, I don't care about being with Hal Jordan. I just want to help him any way I can. And right now that means fighting you. Sinestro tries to say that love is a lie. That's what he believes. And Carol's like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you believe that, because deep down in your little black heart, there is love. And she traps him in a Zamoron crystal, and we see some memories of Abensir's sister, whose name is Arin, and Sinestro really cared about her, clearly. We see a shot of her dying in his arms, and then he bursts out of the crystal and is like, Arin! You! And he just smacks Carol in the face. You think I have time to waste on this? I gotta go deal with Mongol! He gets his fellow Sinestro Corps members to hold her back, and then one of them just gets their heart ripped out, and we see that a bunch of Sinestro Corps members have been resurrected as Black Lanterns. They all arrive, led by Amon-Sur, Abensir's son. So, greetings, fearful leader. We missed you back home, and it's revealed that on Quad, where all the Sinestro Corps are, they are fighting against a whole bunch of Black Lantern Quadians. And then we see what's going on the different Lantern planets. The Green Lanterns fight against the Red Lanterns. Boudica, who is an Alpha Lantern, is killing Red Lanterns because she's following her orders. And the other Green Lanterns are like, we gotta get Boudica off of this planet, 'cause she's just gonna keep killing people, and that's not what we came here for. We came here for Lyra, who was a former Green Lantern that became a Red Lantern, and she died. So they're trying to retrieve her body, but then Atrocitus shows up and attacks them, and that's when the Black Rings appear and start taking over the dead bodies of Red Lanterns, including Lyra. We cut to Odin, where the Blue Lanterns are fighting the Orange Lanterns. Larfleeze is ecstatic over the fact that he is winning control over his power, and hopefully the Blue Lantern power as well, because he wants all of it. But then the Black Rings fly in, and Larfleeze tries to grab one, because he's like, oh, these are mine! But then they start attaching themselves to the corpses surrounding Larfleeze, and Larfleeze finds himself surrounded by Black Lanterns of all the people that he's killed over the Greed Lantern. He's like, uh-oh. We then cut to the Corrupted Guardian, who is in search of the Indigo Light, because they haven't found the Indigo Lanterns yet, or the Indigo Tribe. And they are hoping that the war currently going on is what will draw them out. Now back to Green Lantern Corps, Aricia makes her way back to Oa, and when she gets there, she finds the place being attacked by the Black Lanterns, and then is introduced to the Black Lantern versions of her father and mother and grandpa. A little family reunion, and they start crowding around her. They want their family to reunite, and she's like, no, get away from me, there's something wrong with you. While all this carnage is going on, Kyle has a conversation with the Black Lantern version of Jade. For some reason, this Black Lantern is able to look like regular Jade. I thought all Black Lanterns were forced to look like zombies unless you had transformation powers like Martian Manhunter. But I guess we just put that aside because this was what works for the story. It allows Kyle to lower his guard and also just let a bunch of his friends and allies die. Like, I know there's supposed to be some heartfelt meaning here with Kyle reuniting with his girlfriend, but it doesn't feel in character for Kyle to just have a conversation with Jade while all these people are dying. It's clear that Black Lantern Jade is trying to manipulate him. Meanwhile, Salak and some other Green Lanterns head to the Citadel where all the Guardians are, and they find the Guardians' bodies because they have all been killed by the corrupted Guardian. This is the second time in just a few years that the Guardians have died, because they got resurrected not too long ago. During Kyle Rayner's run as the main Green Lantern, the Guardians got resurrected. And now they're already dead again. Maybe they should come up with some kind of protocol where it's like, get the Guardians the hell out of there if something bad has happened. I guess they didn't really have a chance to get away. One of the Alpha Lanterns shows up and tries to take over the Green Lantern Corps, and Salak is like, nah, you can't do that, I'm the leader because the Guardians said so. Like, they have a whole protocol for it. And he orders the Alpha Lanterns to leave and do their job, go help people. He also tells them to make sure that no rings from dead lanterns go and find new hosts, and that all the rings should go to Mogo, because he doesn't want to put any rookies in danger. He wants this Black Lantern situation dealt with before they recruit new lanterns. Which shows just how good of a person Salak is, that he really cares about his fellow lanterns. Back with Jade and Kyle, we are led to believe that Kyle is falling for Jade's ruse, but he isn't. He realizes that she isn't the Jade that he knew. I mean, he's not stupid. She's acting very out of character right now. And he says that because she has the balls to look like somebody that he loved, that she is going to be destroyed. Like, he's going to destroy her. And he has no problems doing so because she's not Jade. Jade starts taunting him, saying that he's had a lot of girlfriends that he's failed to save, which is true. She's just speaking truth right now. She starts attacking him with projections of his many relationships, both alive and dead. Meanwhile, at the burial site, where a lot of criminals have been executed, some of the Green Lanterns have come there to check it out, and the Black Lantern rings fly straight into the burial, and then all of the executed criminals burst out as Black Lanterns. There's quite a few hearts that get ripped out here. One of these lanterns is about to be killed by a Black Lantern, but Katmatui's Black Lantern arrives and saves him, and he thinks that it's regular Katmatui. He's just like, Lantern Tui, is that you? Thank you for saving. And then she just rips him apart and eats his heart. It's pretty brutal. Meanwhile, at the Lantern Crypt, Biz is flying around, flying straight through people, killing them instantly. But he's grabbed by Guy Gardner, and Guy's like, Biz, what are you doing? Like, we were great friends, you saved a lot of us from that one time when we were on Mogo. And Biz talks about how he's always been mocked by the other Lanterns because of his size, and that he's going to kill everybody, starting with Guy. So he attacks Guy, and Guy tries to fight back against him, and he has no choice but to crush Bzzz against his lantern ring. Like, it was either you or... And then he gets attacked by another Lantern who puts his horn straight through Guy's leg. Like, next time, pick on someone your own size, Gardner. And then we cut to the infirmary where injured Lanterns are being attacked by Black Lanterns, and one of them almost gets his heart taken out, but Soranik arrives just in time to save him and just blasts this Black Lantern off of him, and all that's left is his hand sticking out of its chest. It's a pretty cool image. And we leave that situation on a cliffhanger as we switch back to Chapter 3 of Blackest Night, which is the final chapter that we will be covering this week. In New York, Jason and Jen have a conversation about their relationship. Their relationship is kind of on the rocks at the moment, and Jen's like, maybe it's not a good idea for us to be Firestorm. And I'm like, yeah, if you're having relationship issues, it's probably not the best idea to be sharing a superhero body together 24/7. Meanwhile, Barry and Hal get attacked by their dead Justice League friends, Elongated Man, Firestorm, Sue Dibney, Hawkman, Hawkgirl. Elongated Man has an unfortunate reunion with Barry where he just constantly mocks him and says sadistic things to him. And we also realize that the Well, something I realized is that the Black Lanterns are incredibly horny in this series. Like, when Hawkman is attacking Hal, Hawkgirl is like, make him use his willpower, Carter. Make Hal fight back. It gets me hot. Barry switches to fighting Firestorm, where Ronnie mentions Martin Stein and how Barry is a nerd just like him, and Barry's like, I knew the real Ronnie, he would never talk about Stein like that. It's like, you want to try an experiment, Firestorm? Let's see what happens when I take this black ring off. And he tries to pull the ring off, but then he finds out that the rings are attached to the Black Lanterns and can't be pulled off, and that they heal, and so these rings aren't like your average Green Lantern rings. And then Ray Palmer comes out of Hawkman's ring, and he says, like, hey guys, I'm here because I decided to go through the phone. I wanted to talk to Hawkman, then I found out he was a Black Lantern. Before he could kill me, I jumped into his ring. While I was in there, I found out that the ring seems to be alive. It's got molecules and shit. Don't know what that's about, but it's pretty freaky. Meanwhile, Jason Rush, as Firestorm with Jen, heads to the headquarters of the Justice League, and when he gets there, he sees on the video screens all of the Black Lanterns, people that have been coming back and attacking everybody, and then the cameras all get shut off. They also noted that when they entered the headquarters, it seemed like Aquaman had already signed in, which makes you think like, oh, Black Lantern Aquaman is here. But actually, it's Mera. She shows up with her trident and stabs Jason in the shoulder, but he has to quickly explain to her that, you know, he's not a Black Lantern, obviously. And then Mera points out the fact that all of the villains' dead bodies are here. Because remember how they were mentioning earlier that Hal and Dick Grayson were burying a bunch of villains here? Yeah, when there's a big epidemic like this going on with all these Black Lanterns, it's probably not the best idea to have all these dead bodies in one place. Hal and Barry try to get away from the Black Lanterns, but they fail. They get captured by the Lanterns. One of them, Sue Dibney, tries to kill Ray Palmer. She reaches into his chest, but the Indigo tribe arrives just in time, led by Indigo 1. They start attacking these Black Lanterns, and something interesting is we see one of their abilities, which they seem to be able to channel other Lanterns' powers. So she says will, and then all of a sudden Indigo 1 is able to challenge the power of will, and mixed with her Indigo light, she is able to hurt the Black Lanterns and sever their rings. This gives them enough time to make an escape, and after they've escaped, Indigo 1 explains what's going on. She tells everybody about the Spectrum, which we already know, and the Black Lanterns, which we already know about. But then she explains how she was able to hurt the Black Lanterns. She explains that the Black Lanterns are weak to multiple colors coming together. They're weak to something known as the white light. So if you get all the colors together, you can hurt them. And the more colors you have, the more powerful it is. They also talk about how the Black Lanterns aren't actually the people they know. They say that the rings have a mind of their own, and what they are doing is they are finding the corpse and then taking control of it, which explains why they have all the memories, but not the personality of the person. Like when Elongator Man got destroyed by Indigo 1, Sue Dibney didn't seem to care at all. Hal immediately wants to head to Zamaron so that he can recruit Carol, because they need to get, you know, each lantern with a different color. And Barry criticizes him for this. He's like, Hal, why are you always so quick to leave? My entire life I spent running at immense speeds, always skipping through life, before I finally realized that I need to slow down and live life. And yet you're still speeding through it. You're still ready to leave at a moment's notice. We need you to stay here and help us come up with a plan of attack before you leave. Because if you leave and we don't know what we're going to do, we might get screwed. So let's both slow down and figure out a plan. So you're right, Barry. Before he can finish his sentence, the Black Lanterns arrive again because they weren't destroyed. Ronnie tries to create a wall of hydrochloric acid, but Jason fights back at it by turning it into snow. But then Ronnie grabs Jason and splits him apart. So Jason and Jen are now separated, and then Ronnie grabs Jen by the throat and taunts Jason, saying that he's going to kill her in front of him. And Jason tries to grab Ronnie, and he ends up fusing with him, which really screws him over because now he can't do anything except watch Ronnie torture Jen. And he tells Jen that he is going to transmute her body into salt, which is exactly what he starts doing. And Jason tries to call out to Jen and tell her that he loves her. And Ronnie's like, there's nothing you can really say because she can't even hear you, so don't even bother. And Jen is in tons of pain during this sequence. It's so hard to look at as she gets transformed into salt in front of Jason's eyes. And then Ronnie plunges his hand through her chest, ripping out her heart. He then drops her body to the ground as all these black rings fly into the building. They fly straight into where all the bodies are being kept, and the dead villains emerge as Black Lanterns. So the situation has gone up to 100. This is not good. One of them is Alexander Luthor, the main villain of Infinite Crisis. And that is the end of Chapter 3 and the end of this week's video. I will see you next week for our first load of Blackest Night tie-ins. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am enjoying this event a lot so far. It's a lot more violent than I was expecting, having to do a lot more censoring than I realized I would. But this is really great so far. I will see you next week. Have a good one.